Bruno, Tamjin, the Yano Moria, like a dollar, the Jiggy, Dom, no Gunja, Jackie, Dom Bottom Jiggy, the Docky, Chuden. Good morning. So we complete Sand Mandala, I think. We are pretty good. Good job. And so also Lopon Gezan La, so Dorje Lopon. So he's here, he can really good. And then this translator, Lotawa. And we did pretty much, I think 2 days, right? 2 days.
Was it 2 days? Yeah, we were thinking it's usually 4 days, so it was very fast.
That's very good. So we have too many things, we need to do things.
Yeah, lots of preparation still for the money trip.
That nga zo katang di wari da ti gu la da tsame chen gi yore ting zang ki tu zu la da ma tsang ma tiwa tsawo tiwa te yang tene kar se gore da ji mu ki su chi ne tene da tanda technology Mamboji Soyore, Yimina Yang, da Ti Sohawa, Ti Jian Chine, Jengazo Dechi, Mone Goyake Dechi, this Kabocha de Orwa, Tobiata Tinitangazo, Jig Tajeke, 1 year ton, technology, 1 year Chigore, the 1 year Chibatean, Tene Jig.
So surely everyone can relate that the conditions these days in our modern times are such that we are all pressed for time. So in these days, everyone is so busy. And this is also facilitated by all the advancements in technology. So, this human-created technology that in many ways has, made our lives much easier, create a lot of convenience. But what we can also identify is that the deeper level happiness that we search for and crave cannot be provided by these things, these kind of external sources of, prosperity, wealth, and advancement.
Tine tanga zo yaje chimbare, yaje de ta samin chingre, tsilin de beke technology yaje chimbare, yina yang ta nga zo deeper level jik ta wina technology ta yaje chimba tela, yaje la jik sancho tang, simchen himba la jik pen toya ja chimbo jik ro yore se na, des kawore dowa. 가르치기 요래 라위나 tene chi zumbling di tone tanda most expensive 가르치기 요람나 다 weapons 로
Weapons?
Yeah. bomb 다 세야다 도비야다 chi 세와 지야게 고잘라지 마토비게 다 원에 티나지 focus this chi 닝지 야제 당야 로 세와 야제 당야 지 무기 대지 여제 당야 텐데 다 자니 요 말이 다 랍토고 말이 되네요. 고초 갑초 로서디 고디스 야본 로그면도 와. 대매비 좀 센터 되네. 당가서 딱봐 지 치라 마타와 당가서 대진 도버래 대진 도버들라 생게 되네. 다 단다 남배기 추운데 다 빼면서 위게 지 내가 체효 둘 합대wan 로지. 그와 디 가르치고요래. 섬년 현라 섬노 당고요래. 직자 첨보당 할레 미비나야 고지 합초대 지 현라 팬야. 현라 제와 드니지 용고요래. 현라 제와당 현라 팬도지 유비 좀 센터라 되네. 고 랑오네야. 고 디기 추들라. 드니지 대화 요바. 그와 드니지 용 두고요래서.
So there are all these advancements, and there's a lot of benefit. There is a lot of good that has come in the world as a result of these modern advancements in technology. But on a deeper level, if we really think about it, when we consider, all of the positive things that have come out of it, what is really a benefit, what is really positive, what really it brings benefit to sentient beings, then relative to the harm, it's actually kind of minimal, because the focus, of advancement and modern technology has been primarily the nature of, for instance, focusing on perhaps weapons and bombs and things that are of a more destructive nature. Of course, there's a lot of positive too, but the focus in these advancements has really primarily not been, what is truly beneficial to humankind, what is, it isn't something motivated by love and compassion for beings, or bringing, mental and physical well-being and happiness to others. Yes, there's a lot of advancement that has happened in that area, but then when we kind of balance the benefit, or we look at the contrast between the benefit and the potential harm, the harm is maybe outweighs the benefit in most cases. And so if we really want to develop inner well-being, peace, and happiness, if we really want to, if our focus is on benefiting ourselves and others, then we have to acknowledge that that isn't going to be achieved by looking outward, by focusing on the external. That in order to do this, we really need to turn the mind inward, and we need to develop the mind from within. We need to develop the inner qualities. And so this is why the time has come, really, for the Buddha's teachings are so beneficial and important, especially at this time.
어다 디인데 기당 다 코파스와 녜망녜말라 땡땡 뇽모바 유지레 해당 유지레 투파 자기 유지레 제캅 이나레 머게르게르 이나레 리디 이나야 단데크 레벨 데네 요마르와 티감도 이나지 무지 투파 자고나 던저보다 돈저보다 딘디기 회주 치기레 다 머지 있으기레 마토베케 고제캅 칸크레 인타 tortu고요 말와 어다 딘디 임비 두초라 ngasoda 디 중콩 자와데 가나토도 요레 휴이나 라티 번짐바 다든짐바 베데 tremendous 코라 쇼침부 유비 좀 센터 때네 현라 코라지 섬노 마당와 현게 등에 일라 코라 가시 냐나 고 등에 떼야로 오지다 현라 양코 가서 가서 태도와지고 인지 뿌냐장 매바 송래 되네 인지야 게 코라 베데 not like hair 대나 이게 되네
We don't ninja put some your mare chitang.
매바 체다 자기도 왔다 자기 요래서 다고 지고 또 다고 대치고로 오미에 또비 게 맘지아미 게 지인 센트네 공배 다테베다 자 첨보도 좀 몸고요로.
So in the past, we're really in a period of time that is like no other kind of the potential danger and harm that can be caused, because in the past, of course, beings have always been afflicted by negative emotions. There's always been fighting, there's always been dispute, there has been war, there have been people killing each other, but the scope of the potential for destructiveness was much less. There would use weapons like knives and stones, and maybe could kill, one or, two people in this way, or a number of people, but never before has it been a time like this where actually we could blow up the entire earth. So this is really kind of unprecedented. And that which is the most kind of dangerous cause in the world, really, at the root, is the mind of self-grasping, the self-centered, self-cherishing attitude, which is at the root of all the afflictive emotions. And so when one is only thinking about themselves and has no regard for others, then there's the potential to really cause harm. And so the Ningje put some mebagi yabo koma sangkumpa.
다 닝제 요 말에 퍼줘라고.
수 요 말에.
다 뭘 두보 당연도 솔라. 당연게 닝제 요 말에 퍼줘. 현에 디메시 들라고로 공에 쓰이 당 앞에 오차서 곧다
So there's a real lack of compassion among those who have the intention to harm, who could, who kill countless, beings, and don't have even like a hair's worth of compassion. And so this is why it's so important during these times to be those among those who are dedicated to developing the inner qualities such as compassion.
어다 뒤인데 대가 나이 땅가조디 다조 특사디 가르쳐야디요리 서로 제 강의 용사디 다 소가서 남바 상지베기 냠낸 친경게 강사원의 섬노 땅비나 다 당보 제번진바 디토네 되네 지 가르세거래다 주티키 코라 짜와 대치지 되네 지다 라나 소소기 주일라 되네 해당 요와 차도 요와 댐선 요와 다 틴리제 그랑랑 되네 야 가르세거래 심제 요와 소 참마디 다 라주일 요래 다 땡가서 원에 지나 애니미 다라고 차디 요래 스테네 다 땡가서 냠렌지도 단다랑 그런 가서 지 뇽모바 때문에 와서 투구 말이 얘는요 뭔지 더고 그러와 난디 뇽모바 세야디 동에 때기도 잠만 조금들에 잠바 다든지 마티 하고 그랬어.
And so so it's important to, as practitioners, to recognize, what is really the troublemaker, what is really at the root of all of these problems in the world, and the root of our own suffering, is really this mind of self-grasping, the self-cherishing attitude. And so, of course, we have, based on this self-cherishing attitude, we have all of the different manifestations of that, the afflictive emotions, anger, jealousy, competitiveness, anxiety, and so forth. And so in our own mind stream, we can identify that the true enemy, the only real enemy that there is the mind of afflictive emotions, the mind of self-grasping. And so this becomes the objective of our practice, is to work with the mind, to subdue, to tame the mind, so that we can pacify those afflictive emotions. And of course, we can't expect to be completely rid of them, or to get rid of them completely. But at first the first step is to recognize, just in being aware, recognizing that they are there and recognizing that they are causing us suffering, that they are painful in nature. This alone is huge.
어디 뒤에다 뒤 가서 냠내치다 뒤한테 공투요 나기래 가서 단다양지 유추 땅집에 장마장을 차가 요 말이 뒤나양 아주 공부만이 손도되네 땅가서 가리 공부 그래 그러와 냠내치가 공부 그래 다 단다 땅가서 값 사발라 배나 많이 득천다고 되네 다 그거니 주소 20잡긴다고 되니다 농대기요래 되네 딘데지 똥가 되나 다 확차지 샤기요래로 확차 샤서도 가리세나 나솔라도 다 되요래 그 가르세나다 그 챌린지 가르치기 요람나 맞춘 용몸비 확차라와 확차 효 첨보요래 배나다 단단 딩딩도 없어서 나옵니다 패치면은 제 카파르데 메비나다 코로베데 서바이브 메와로 차차리다 그러와 다 들이 금리 효리 근데 진짜 카파 메베 갑랑 가서 서바이브 차리다와 다 드링에 가상에 뭐 휴인 봐다 뭔가시 같이 걸었나 남주나로는 야 백티야키 그 얘기가 술케스야 강 향이어와 비갑라 카파 셈되고 어와 다 레로 요 말고 카파직 셈고래 백직 셈고래 레로 오면도 와 어다 텐디지는 가완도 다 상주나라 키기래 다 코라 가완도 나 베테코나 베 직대미나더니 그 셈동바로 차고다 텐디 고모요로 당원이 지는 가서 냠렌치야 텐디지 고미나 당가서 등에래 타와래 그러와 나존다 뇽모마 가서 가리이나다 해당이나 매워서도 그래 텐디 이제 추치야 곰대요나 텐디 자도이나 곰 그래 곰 자도이나 매워서 토고 그래 얘네 단대 기능받아 레고요 말와 that in order to the new palevia chitola as much as possible wa jinga ra ina de sangji thanya ina de ta particular thing so ta jamro gang wa ta ngone ji sangji thambo chi yu jamro de go go chi sangji la ma sangji shakche to ba namde hiwa sangji shakche to ma so kewan de la ta sangji thanya ne wa tene ti thene ta ti da nyamdo la tene sangji ki song 송혁바 다 단다 가리나라와 직단 오마니 베메홈 야충산로 섬노 땅미나 센다 레라오 섬노 땅 더소 섬노 다 검걸고 네파 직렙 그러와 티니 코랑소 다 가리세나 뇽베 촐라 금리 첨부 요베 갑라 다 게베 촐 금리 요 말고 지고르마 섬노 팔죠 태양사와 얘네 양가서 금리로 다는 라버리다 많이 롭찬로 띠지 든디지 화자지 협이나 다 단계게 용몸에 쳤듯이 양로다 님의 화자들이 쇼총로 따분로로 다디 어서 냠내지 세야 되고 년가대 차 되고
So it is said that it is not so much a matter of meditation. It's not actually meditation, but it's habituation. And so this is in Tibetan a play on words because the word for meditation and the word for habituation are very, very close. So gomba mayan, kombayan. And so that is what is being said here is that is actually what meditation is. It's a process of becoming familiar, habituating, becoming used to. And so that, whatever we practice, and in particular something like the Mani Drupchen, where we're putting everything else aside, and we are focusing exclusively on the inner practice and reciting the mantra and really dedicating 24 hours a day, of our time for the pure duration of the retreat to nothing but practice. And what this does is it interrupts like our usual patterns of distraction and kind of the momentum of the stream of kind of negative concepts and emotions and such. And so we're interrupting that and we're creating a strong, virtuous karmic imprint, for the duration of that retreat. And it's very powerful. And it's challenging to do in general because we have such a strong habituation to the mind of defilement, to afflictive emotions, to proliferating discursive thoughts. That's our propensity. That is very strong, that habituation. And so to counteract that, then we need to have something really strong on the side of virtue to create that strong imprint for virtue as opposed to distraction and defilement. And we just need, like, for instance, look at how attached we all are to our phones and being really, addicted to constant entertainment, but scrolling through our phones. He said, he feels like actually these days, like maybe we couldn't even survive without our phones. And so if you look, like sometimes he sees on the airplane, people, they never, they'll put their carry-on baggage above, but never do they put their phone in the baggage. They always have the hand,
holding.
I got it. They have the hand, they're holding in their hand the phone, and then they're putting their luggage above, and it's kind of cumbersome because they have their phone in their hand, and they can't even like effectively put their baggage in the overhead bin, but there's no way they're going to let go of that phone. So, and then they, take it with them to the bathroom, they take it everywhere. And, so this has become such a strong, this is becoming a very strong imprint for us all in this society. And so if you think about it, if we really focus, if the amount of time that we spend, focused on other things, if we put that towards the practice of virtue, if we put that energy towards our Dharma practice, we can become free from suffering. We can actually subdue the painful emotions of anger and jealousy. It absolutely is possible to develop that capacity, to develop that power. And so that's why, that's what all of this is about, this practice, these practices. We're creating new karmic imprints, new tendencies, virtuous inclinations through repetition and through habit, creating new habits. So remembering the Buddha, in the case of, for instance, this practice of refuge, remembering as much as we can, creating the tendency to bring the Buddha to mind. So, because we have to have an outer object at first, to place our mind upon. So we think of the Buddha, we think of the qualities of the Buddha, the hardships that the Buddha endured. We think about the Buddha's teachings. We recite the Om Mani Padme Hum mantra. And so as we do this with repetition, then the power of that virtue and that imprint becomes stronger and stronger over time. And eventually that becomes a stronger imprint than the imprint of the negative emotions. So through practice, then it becomes a stronger tendency to have virtuous mind states than it does to have non-virtuous mind states. And that's why this Mani Drupchen is such an incredible opportunity, because we really have this container, these really precious conditions in which to develop a very strong, virtuous imprints. And we notice during the Mani Drupchen that our kind of concepts and our afflictive emotions become a little bit lighter. They're not as coarse, and the thoughts and feelings that are virtuous in nature become stronger. They come to the forefront. And this is the result of practice.
Tene tanga tsude tanda dere the visualization ro ji kapan ro ji da gom shola na chang lamsan be gom tu gres be kawayu kandi chigo samata lam na yores ina nga tsuda ji jene sen do gom na da jene se de kandi na da di be yora do gom do.
So we can see also, like, how deeply ingrained the negative habits are, because if you are like, oh, where's your phone? Most often exactly.
Sort of visualization.
So if you're like, visualize your phone, you can immediately do it. You can be like, oh yeah, that's my phone, that's what it looks like. But if you then say, well, it's also a lot simpler than visualizing Chenrezig, but if you say visualize Chenrezig, then that is much harder, right? It's more, because we're so habituated, for instance, to the phone and looking at the phone, but we're less habituated to holding a visualization like that of the deity.
Yeah, of course, kappa sometimes we useful, we need mostly communication, but for example, using the kappa, right?
The phone.
Phone. That's much. Till now, you got to chivina.
If we had practiced at this point, if we had practiced as much as we have spent time on our phones, we might even be enlightened by now.
Very close. That in the Thinley, Dangaso, Comtijo Goyaji, Chadek, the Dangaso. Ketchimbodes, or that in that Ganaida, the Jamdore, that Jamdo the Kazante, also Karsena, Kare, Sanji Chuta, Gendizum, to some chi, Jamdoins, and the Danga, so late Tombopa, Tigana, that's Sango, that's Sanji Tango, or Tandaking at Count Labana, that example, you heard the Pom Roa, Pom Tangidoa, Pom Gogidoa, or Tigana, I forget here. Eating as a chuchi gablachi yota, the chico carsegore, preparation, the plan, the gogdoa. T. Otangaji chigore, Yamne Chigu Zambadoji, Yamne Chigu Zambada, Tanga Mamba Yamne Chigi Zambada, what a chick tipe, Mambo Chigogdoa, Chuchidu, Gogiores. In a tatin digoma, Kapani Yalang as a plan and Gongodonga, Kapati Yabgi, Tati in the tea, the Yosamari, Tezungodoa. Chu Kadu Tena, Chi Gore, Sondoa, Jisimilik. A Hopatena, Hopare, on that
Jictin Sumari.
Yeah, that is in the thing. What at the Tango? Tamba the Chigo doa. What at the kitchen is?
So this process of habituation, really looking at it like this as a process of habituation is so important, it's so needed. And so with the practice of refuge, as we have been, to review what we've been learning, as it was said, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, these are the outer refuge. And so we need, especially to, practice, especially as in the beginning, we need to have an outer source of reliance, and so it's very important to develop the tendency to rely on the three jewels, to remember and think about and rely upon the Buddha. When we are when it comes to Dharma practice, often we have a lot of ideas and planning. We think, oh, I really want to practice Dharma, but at this point in time, I will do it. And then we to get to that point, we do all this preparation and all of this planning. But if you think about, for instance, the best example he thinks really is the phone, as he's been, that if we are sort of gonna, did you say buy a new phone? No. If we're gonna look.
You can use the poem, there's no planning. Mm-hmm. Just
pick it up.
Right, so with the Dharma practice, right? So Dharma practice sort of like a likabet, I think a sort of preparation, I want to practice, or maybe this time I want to practice. This morning,
at this
sort
time,
of
I'm going to do it at this time of the day.
I think this mind is interesting, So, one hand is this directly, maybe superficial way, or it looks good. You're planning, you're thinking about the Dharma practice, but ultimate sense is sort of like a hesitation, yeah, I want to practice sort of like prepare or something, planning, and so automatically looks like a bit distance, right?
We make it it creates distance
Right?
between us and our
If you like
practice.
poem, whatever, you just pick up. So there's no question, no planning, nothing. You pick up. So if really your Dharma practice, when you remember right way, you
If
can
we just do it as quickly and accessibly as we pick up our phone, we should
right. So this actually with
resort to our
best
Dharma
example,
practice.
So if you do that, then you 100% guarantee you will become practitioner. So practitioner means you get realization, you get experience. Otherwise, sort of like Dharma, you're hearing the Dharma here, there, but it is very hard. Because of your other things, your karma imprint much stronger than your Dharma practice. So anyway, so what I think you tell is, nga zo khatsang kata di lama sanji chundong gendu zom to zom chi lama yin tine kare. Lama yedam khandro zom to zom nang lama ita lapsa yorwa. Tine kare tine hyukta di khawda.
So then, as we also went over, last week, the Lama Yidam and the Dakini, these three are the inner refuge, the channels, winds, and drops. These three are the secret refuge. And bliss, clarity, and non-thought, these three are the ultimate refuge. And this is a quote from Judson Milarepa.
다 테레 다 ngazo dene ji zatang longdang tegle zoms tsom dene da zangi jamro senari kangda dan tezo nyamlen tsin thombu kechari wa nyamlen tsin thombu kechala dene da ji thangbo nyamlen tsin thombu kecha khabalya gorsena dande ki nyom momban dine nyom barakwan dene go pass beyond dinde chabina dene sem ka rawa sem ka tangro hyadu sem ka diba tene chang ro do te chang bi kabla tene ji bena zalung tele la so ba tene ji gom yong bi kabla tene ji tuwa ji thobya rawa bena cha sha bena ka sang de jitsumila na yi rawa jitsumila de la kharzung se na ko karse rahyo na la ya ko di thobya rachu che ram ro wa jitsum mela chongro mandowa la sobata 대가 나이다 단단가 조디나 송구도와 되네 대사반랑 페럴 카스나 뒤제되나 뒤니 상제나 송도와 되네 뒤제 키나라 뒤치 대야 첨보 체를 만도와 라와 디강라 뒤 참미비키 행함요와 대야 되네 드소 총로 만도와 와다 되니게 되네 고치토부여사래 예세나다 된가서 단대내 갑라 포커스 해야 돼. 단이 공투가 나기 탐. 산제 태양고다. 봐. 산제 태양. 다 초 가르치는 데가 산제대 뒤 딱벌지도 산제 태양고다. 봐. 어디인데 되네. 당에 가장 쉬운 나이래. 산제 태양 돼야 되네. 지 원에 전에 탈바탐이 재미 고마토야 기도 산제게다. 잡되는 산제리 산제 태양고고래. 대만인 베케 템보 내카브케 제한당 warchita jikti yobina tikabla sanje thangdo sanje japthugoyore ro ngaso object ji jangchang da ji jine ko ji jian yina chilo le yongbare tene magawan chilo yongba tene chena situ marwa tenta
Okay, kongta, yangta.
bena ngaso jian tele chilo la som tang de do o kongto ji lang na mati dubore sa chilo tende mai ba khandi jian thi mina jian thi wi kabla ta sanje thanggogoyo sare sanje thena tene 가장 아주 휴거래 tene 타토게 산제디 라야 차디요 이네 고 셈디 뭐네 산제에다랑 셈징 되고도 와 단다 빼면서 very quality 가서 이거 long distance 차디거래 칼세나 가서 이거 간지 차고도 와 녀모 막 간지지 단다 공투가 나 산제 태야라 빼갈래 가고도 이네 양도 지 되나 근데 산제 오토 요 송야래다 근데 산제의 지 태용부 갑라 근데 샘데 랑티요 랑 샘데 근데 산제 차그로 와 라서 산제 와다테 말이 와다다 tanda chi kilama tala dembe ki tene sanje ki song xiabi chu te yang ta zo che xio tere da karsa lende siya di rawa te yin tene nga zo ta samsang nga zo tene yungi dowa chakchen zokchen re chakchen zokchen de tobar che wula tangbo lende rakwa di che go re nyom wa nga zo ju le nyom wa rakwa de chang go yo rawa tene ji ya le so ma tene nga zo da 디 요아터리다 데다 데세메토로와 데세메토 때문에 대가리 통지점으로 해야 되거나 되네 다 랩토고요. 얘는 양직 탄다 뇽모바 유신도 뇽바라파 유신도라 되네 그 되게 저 요 말해 되네 랩토야 요 말했어.
그래서 Mahamudra. So when these, particularly, for instance, the secret refuge and the ultimate refuge, the channels, winds, and drops becoming a refuge, for instance, the secret refuge, this is really language that is dealing with really like a higher level of development, a really high level of practice. And it's very important to understand this because this kind of experience is really beyond the experience of the mind of coarse, like the coarse mind of ordinary, coarse afflictive emotions, defilements, and conceptual proliferation. So we have to purify the mind. When the mind is really free of obscurations, then there's the capacity to understand the meaning of these kind of higher levels of refuge or higher levels of practice. It really is at such a high level of development. It's, for instance, like the example, one who is at this level is capable of, for instance, if you remember the story of Jetsa Milarepa, where he enters the yak horn, and he does so without the yak horn getting any bigger and without his body getting any smaller. Or, for instance, like the example in the 7 branch prayer that we always recite, where we say, on a single atom there are Buddhas as numerous as atoms, each residing in the midst of their own Buddha fields. So the idea of, like, in a single atom there are limitless Buddhas and limitless Buddha fields, it's like beyond the level of ordinary comprehension. So this is this is a very highly developed level of spiritual experience. Right now, where we're really at, we have to focus really on this outer refuge, remembering the Buddha, relying on the Buddha, because that, if we wish to attain this state of Buddhahood, if we wish for liberation, we have to have the Buddha, constantly in our mind. We have to remember the Buddha. If we wish to pacify our afflictive mind states, we have to remember the Buddha. So this practice of really deeply developing a habit of recollection is really important in order to get anywhere on the path. If we try to skip over that, then we're going to actually do ourselves a great disservice. So we have to change our habits. The first step is changing the habits from looking outside externally, which is what we always do. What's going on with these people? What's going on with those people? What did this person say? This person said that, and this person said this, and I'm really angry. They shouldn't have said that. We have all of this drama that our mind is preoccupied with based on looking outward. And so to change that habit of focus, for instance, to developing like a mind of, having the mind of faith in the Buddha and remembering the Buddha, because when we remember the Buddha, ultimately, the ultimate refuge is actually our own mind. Our own mind is actually the Buddha. But in order to discover that, we have to mix our mind with the Buddha. And the way that we do that is by remembering the Buddha, by having the Buddha in our mind. And so then when we develop that tendency, our mind actually merges, can develop, gradually merges with the mind of the Buddha. And then we can actually realize our own true nature as being the true meaning of that, the true meaning of the Buddha. But currently, when our mind is very rigid and very limited and very constricted by afflictive mind states, then we can't realize that ultimate nature. So we have to develop the habit of remembering the Buddha and relying on the Buddha, and then that eventually purifies the mind, and then eventually one is able to realize one's own true essence as being that of the Buddha. So, this is the most important thing really in our Dharma practice at this stage, is developing pure virtuous karmic imprints in the mind stream, developing confidence in karma cause and effect. So there's a lot of interest in higher level teachings like Mahamudra and Dzogchen, but as long as there is still kind of the coarse perception that of the mind of afflictive emotion, and as long as we as long as that is still kind of our experience, then we can't really realize the meaning of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. So we have to first really purify the mind stream, purify those coarse afflictive emotions and defilements. And then once the mind is really purified, then there is the reliance, for instance, on the ultimate refuge, which has these qualities of bliss, clarity, and non-thought. But as long as our experience is that of like coarse afflicted mind states, then we can't understand what that is.
that thing is that that chance tang that there is on but chigore chance on teba yichi nyamlen chigore da zo da nanga zo ngondo program nala thende tene thela tene jesi randang be gawchons jumsen kare sevina chu nyamlen chiwala rewe thongare su nyamlen china rawa chebayo mare tesongdo tene majipala menjong songre tene chu majina sangji hyolamna yungya kana yo mare expecting guessing out that rindo re yo mare ko chiyo marwa chiya kaba yo mare yung mares ti indu tine ta chibale chu mezason ngato gewa drobarawa gewa drobla pene keji thebaji bata keji keji karse gorata yiche chebata omani peme chigdona ti chibare ti ndebla labiga mares tinda tanangondo nyamnen chigiyore chibatela 저 노도 들어와 지금 지기요래 지협이 긴 리뷰도 통고요래
So really developing the qualities, cultivating the qualities of faith, or in reliance, devotion, and trust in our practice. It's really important, and that's why it's so wonderful that you all have joined this Mundro program. He said he really deeply rejoices and is so appreciative because he knows that this will bring you great benefit. If you do the practice, you will definitely experience the results of your efforts. Because that is the case for anyone who practices Dharma, then they're the results of that practice. But if we don't practice Dharma and then we think like, oh, may I become enlightened, or I'm gonna become Buddha, but then we don't actually do the work, we don't actually do the practice, then of course, like how can we expect to become enlightened? However, any practice, even just a single moment of faith and devotion or trust in the three jewels in one's mind, even one moment of that has its corresponding result. There is result every time we place our mind on virtue, even just a single recitation of the Mani mantra. So it all is so meaningful and so powerful, every little bit that we do, and we need not have any doubt. We can actually be completely confident that we experience the benefits of our practice. So Tigli sum tesmang sa chuyurwa di logo. But no, the 21,600 channels and everything. Okay. Yeah. So then we have, so we went through, the outer, inner, and secret refuges last week. And now also we have this added refuge, which is the ultimate refuge of non-thought, clarity, and bliss. So non-thought is the unborn empty essence of your own mind, or the unborn empty essence of your own mind is non-thought. Clarity, the clarity nature which is unobstructed, abandoning all the faults of samsara and nirvana and accomplishing all aspects of good qualities is clarity. And then bliss, the shining forth of all kinds of characteristics without fixating or becoming bound to them is great bliss.
That is high level. Inbi ina yang da, ngazo samno tanggo yore. Katsang de da, da wore. Katsena ngazo nangwa, rawa. Ji khandi je ke dai na re, choi na re, ti nangwa xia ne, nangwa de la, nang tong yirme to bi na, yedam re shu yore. Tega na ye ke ji da, da ngone reality rawa. Mu ne su ke yedam de cha de yore. Tega na ye ke da katsang ka hu yore hu bi na, ji cek nyembo yonare, cek pe dubo labu yonare, da kowa de la, da tiki ji kowa de la, ji da chakthong ke ngowo ji tobi na, nga re siwa rawa da. Tena yi ke, da tanda yang, tene, da tere metoba songdowa, de se metoba, da ngoni ji metoba re. Da metoba te khandi re si shuwi na, 다 ngato tokpa na tokpa yore rewa tokpa pera nyomu ke tokpa hyadang ke tokpa thado ke tokpa densam ke tokpa yore tokpa ti hyarwa te gana ta ngato telo da hyadro thunyam tokpa ti ngo la ya pene hyadang ro ji lang bi na ya hyadang ti ngo rang yi ma ro ba rewa hyadang ke ngo de tongba yin ba rewa yang me na hyadang ti ya tene ji ta tene tongba to bi na tene pena hedang de karsa ka mechubi ngo ro ta pena melon yi heda wo ta tini khanda da tso ji ya chimbo mewi na ya khanda ni ya kondo du so shuwi na tene ji nyomba khare je wona nyombe ngo ji ta chi ngo ji teung be kabla tene rang yi ma ro ba ro tong sang cha ge da namju 있는 것도 샘대기로 와 당보 해당직 랑네 해당 랑네 되네 다그 유직 랑상다 라고다 로 되네 다 양면에 다다 현세야지 immediately create 치고다 제 집에 갑라 되네 해당직 원에 봐 해당 멤버인 봐 파기 다요와 초요와 다 되네 지금 다 가서 그지 가세고다 대외 그런 이동 솔로 그런 이 용기요 말이 다디 스타만 하고
So although this is, at a high level, we can practice with this and bring, have some basis for understanding, because what is really meant, for instance, is here, there's the kind of clarity aspect of awareness, which is appearances. So we see all of these appearances, and yet when we don't fixate to them as truly existent from their own side, but really see them as kind of empty manifestations of karma, like they are the indivisibility of appearance and emptiness. And this is really actually the true meaning of the Yidam deity. And so it's similar, for instance, when we talk of the refuge of the inner refuge of the Lama, the Yidam and Dakini. So you know that this is that's the meaning, the true meaning of, for instance, refuge in the Yidam, is understanding the empty essence of all phenomena, of all appearances, and likewise, you know, sound, understanding all sound to be the union of sound and emptiness as the essence of the nature of mantra. And so that, you know, whatever it is that we hear, whether pleasant things, whether unpleasant things, whether people say nice things to us or about us, or they say negative things to us or about us, it's all just empty sound. It's all mantra. And likewise, you know, with the thoughts, the empty essence of the thoughts that arise in the mind, it's all, you know, a empty display of, you know, in essence, there's no real, you know, entityness there. And so that then is also understood to be the indivisibility of, you know, thoughts and emptiness. And so we have these qualities of the mind, you know, the non-thought, clarity and bliss. And so in, for instance, relating to whatever arises in the mind, for instance, afflictive emotions, sometimes we have jealousy, sometimes we have anger, sometimes we have competitiveness. So the main thing is building our mindful awareness so that the moment that those emotions and those thoughts arise, we recognize them. We recognize them, and if we can identify, if we can remind ourselves that these are empty in essence, then in looking at that empty essence of the thought, or looking at the empty essence of the afflictive emotion, in seeing its empty essence, it can just dissipate. It can be liberated upon arising. In, for instance, seeing that there is no real essence in anger, that anger is not substantial, you know, in any way. It's empty. And so instead of looking at the object of our anger, if we look at the empty essence of the anger of itself, then it can be experienced as, you know, the quality of akshobhya, for instance, the mirror-like wisdom. And that can be applied, you know, to anything that appears in the mind. The important point is really seeing its elusive nature, that it has no real substance. And so therefore, in recognizing that in the moment, then there is some freedom, some engagement with the afflictive emotion itself, and some disengagement with the object of the affliction. Because ordinarily we perpetuate our affliction because we're so fixated on the object that is making us angry, or that is making us feel jealousy or competitiveness. And so we have this very concrete, this very kind of idea of the concrete existence or reality of the object and the duality of ourselves and the other. And so, you know, with our friends and our enemies. And so as we're caught up in that duality, and we're really taking all of our thoughts and emotions around that mistaken perception of concrete existence to be real, then the mind doesn't have any peace. We don't get any rest. We're not able to be at ease and have a quality of peace and happiness.
동바 동장 테마레 가레세나 조랑기 뇽몬바 티경 오고 동바 임바 테니지 시게 다 동바 임비 갑라 다 동바도 또 소나 다 샘기 처마다 다 되어 샘게만 챙돼야 다 세서야 다 힘에 용거래 그러와 대중도와 대조하는 뭐지 갈세대 남도께 띵소 만댕나 정도 남도께 띵고 대디 대면은 되는 거 저희 세와 요 말다 그 남도 지기 대단히 공투기바나 예다 동아 독성 관자 로디리 그 세와 요 말이 얘네야 다 단계기지 남도들랑 이 뭐로 같은디지 또 용배 qabla 다 샘세그래 그래서 다 남도께 띵소 당바래 배나 띵요나 니만다와 통금말이 얘네야 그 띵바데 갈래 이파 예 손배 qabla 그 니만다와 예 요요 바래 샤롱 거와 어딘데네 다 랑섬지 고 세야 되네 다 샘ത്തിന് 세용 그래스 대 세와사 상가서 대 세메토 올라도 왔다 대 세와 세 그래스
So there's the empty essence of awareness itself, but it's not like just complete nothingness or emptiness, because there is the unceasing clarity aspect of awareness, all that arises, and when the empty essence of thoughts, of afflictive emotions is recognized or realized, then all that arises in the mind becomes a display of that clarity aspect of awareness. And then the mind, this is pure, this is the purification of the mind is in this recognition of the empty essence of all that appears in the mind. So as, for instance, Lord Jigten Sungön says that if the clouds, that obscure the clarity of awareness are not cleared away, then the stars and planets will not become visible. So when the mind is purified of ordinary fixation, to like the thoughts and emotions that arise, then the natural clarity of the awareness shines forth. It's like the parting of the clouds, and then the sun and but the planets and stars become perfectly visible.
오다디다 제니 사가라 세나테레다 오다디 오다 티엔드테레다 오다 동 세와 소다 세와라데 다데 세스타데 거네치는 메토바라와 메토바치 다 메토바데가
So that's the clarity aspect. So there's emptiness, clarity, and
샘데 티니지 치비가라 다 나도 ተ종데 사파메바 세나레 테네 다 랑히키테네 대화 첨부 대전세야 되다 용구테네 대화 제기요레스 대준 샘세와 마르 샘메토바 메토비 그모데테네 샘세와 차그와 오 샘세와 차소나 테네 다 대화 제기레스 대화 첨부 정도 대세메토 소다 대화테네
And these are all interrelated because so then there's the bliss. So there's the empty essence of awareness is like for instance, the experience of non-thought, the complete absence of thoughts, and then within that, there is the quality of awareness that is like the vivid clarity. So when the mind, the empty essence of the mind is realized in that absence of thought, then there is the natural arising of vivid clarity, and with that comes the experience of bliss. That experience itself is blissful in nature. It is like undefiled bliss.
오다 티인디 들어가나이다 가서 다 디가블다 가서 차자 첨부네 송도테네 대통령 띵겐지 송도 티 띵겐지 티 돌라테네 지 가서거다 지 유중보 로송로서 칸데나테네 유중보테네 네토부요레스 테마도다 가서 당보공네 테니제 네소나 테네 지 베네 24 hour 디고나 디토야다 그거는 during body tom나테 네트워크거래서 다 단단하고 있는 거 ordinarily physically 디톡 말에 보면나기래 개반나기라와 어테니티네 다 대통령이 지가는 내기거나 되네 지고 유를 또 먹어와 타나야한테는 랑게 루일한테네 지리라야 매와테네 인사라와 되게 참기가서 레스타 I don't know exactly.
So, so this is the level at which one really understands Mahamudra, can abide within the realization of Mahamudra, and there is the meditative absorption, the samadhi, that is the union of bliss and emptiness. And this can be developed, for instance, within the context of only really intensive practice, like, say, for instance, doing a 3-year retreat. And when one develops that ability to abide within the meditative absorption that is the union of bliss and emptiness, one can abide for a very long time, like 24 hours without interruption, for instance, in samadhi and meditative absorption. Ordinarily, if we think about our own experience, physically, we can, not like stay for that long and meditating, and very long maybe at all. But when one develops really has the arising of this meditative absorption that's a union of bliss and emptiness, then all physical discomfort is transcended. One can abide, for time indefinite within the state of meditative absorption without having to rely on any object. And so there isn't one is relying, on one's own body, one's own inner experience, and without the need to rely on anything else.
Okay.
Oh, didn't look? Okay, so then the next section we have is, remember there are the different, there are the categories. So the fourth is the actual practice. The actual practice consists of the 3 things to abandon, the 3 things to observe, the 3 supplementary practices. So the 3 things to abandon: having taken refuge in the Buddha, abandon worshiping worldly gods. Having taken refuge in the Dharma, abandon harm to any living being. Having taken refuge in the Sangha, abandon negative friends who are bad influences. Then the 3 things to observe: having taken refuge in the Buddha, practicing all representations of the Buddha, even so much as a broken fragment of a Buddha statue, as the actual Buddha. Treat it with respect, keep it in a high place, treat all representations of the Buddha with respect and put them in high places. Having taken refuge in the Dharma, practice seeing all written words as Dharma, since they contain the vowels and consonants that comprise the 3 baskets of scripture. Treat all Dharma texts, even a single sentence, and all written words in general with respect. Pick them up off the floor, keep them in high places, and do not step over them. Having taken refuge in the Sangha, practice seeing all ordained members of the Sangha and the community of practitioners in general purely. Do not focus on their faults, but highlight their qualities. Regard even the maroon and yellow colors of the robe with a sense of reverence and respect. And then there are the 3 supplementary practices, which are: having taken refuge in the Buddha, always cherish the kindness of the spiritual teachers. Having taken refuge in the Dharma, regard their words as sacrosanct. Having taken refuge in the Sangha, hold all members of the Sangha with an attitude of pure view.
That main practice. That main practice.
So the main practice, so these are general practices that we keep, but then the practice itself is the practice of the sadhana. So at the beginning you received the sadhana for the practice of refuge. That was the first thing that we sent out.
다 nga tsu khatsang jik lok bari ina yang cho jik lok yin si ten dit ni. Tanda jam do tak ti jik shin ti xia jik tu yin.
So
Tenjo ni kawa ni.
So we did go through it already, but today he would like us to go through it again. And so I don't think, we don't have printed copies for everyone, but perhaps we can have Tenzin share it on the screen so you can follow here. Or if you happen to have it from before, you can also follow. So we can do it starting from the 4 thoughts that turn the mind.
Page 9.
On page 9, if you happen to have. Oh, look at Paula. She's so prepared. She brought hers.
Page han san chung do.
Oh, yeah. Garayana mishi. Yeah. Gongda.
Thank you.
Kongso nga chimba yu kasi. Kongso kona. The chick yang chi yura.
Page go back page. Lo
The chi is.
so horse to bed. Dan de la nga zo tenjor ni kawa so ta di zo khar sa nga zo yang ta sem ge na kya go yo da. Dongom ra so de ko sem de khale ma lo chi khale lo na te ne ta jik ta da tenjor ne thewa khare ban jorwa khare ba la so ba te ne sam pang go yo res.
So when we read these, what we want to do is really like have the recitation and meditation merge in such a way that we're slowly reading, and as we're reciting, we're also really reflecting upon the words of what we're reading, so that it arises as, the inner sensation of that arises from within.
Tenjo de ne shin de ni ba ga ji ge dong zhou dou ba zhou ba la ankara de la pen ba
English and with melody, or with this leisure and wealth so rare to find, is our chance to make our life worthwhile. If with this we don't achieve our goal, how could we hope it will come again?
다 참마치랑 손 첸거 냠난 집에 qabla 직전에 contemplation 고그로 가서 싶고
So then we can meditate.
이제 다 보고.
So, we're not going to do now, but that when you're practicing this at home, what you do is then you spend, however much time you can allow for meditation on each of these 4 thoughts, according to your schedule, your capacity, then meditate for a time reflecting on each of them. this life as fleeting as autumn clouds, the birth and death of beings like a dance. Their lives flash like lightning in the sky, passing faster than a waterfall. Bound by time, even a king must die, leaving wealth, friends, and family behind. Wherever he goes like a shadow, his karma will follow him along. Contemplating the pain of all 6 realms of samsara, an intense sadness wells up.
So usually with the mantras, some did 3 times, some is 7 times, but we go today just only once each. Om a a I u re re le le e o ang a ga 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 nga za 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 nya da 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 na da 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 na ba 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 ma ya ra la wa sha ka sa ha cha so wa. So one only once.
One more.
Yeah.
No, higher. Keep going. There you go.
Okay. Om ye dharma he de parabhava he du den ken tatanga to hayawadi tiken tayo niroda ewanwadi ma sharmana ye soha. Om Banzar Sado Samaya Manu Balaya Banzar Sado Deno Ba Dedan Dedo Me Bawa Sudo Kayo Me Bawa Subo Kayo Me Bawa Anurado Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Parayanza Sarva Karma Sudame Tsedan Sheryam Guru Hong Ha 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 wo banga wan sa Dharma Memunza Bhava Ma Samaya Sadhu Om Sambara Sambara Bimana Sara Mahazamba Hong Om Mara Mara Bimana Kara Mahanzawa Hong Pi Om Sambara Sambara Mahazamba Hong Pi Om Rutse Ramane Parawadaya Hong Pi Om Kripemana Dishore Hong Om Aum. So now it's English.
Okay, so on page 15. In the space in front, instantaneously arises a great wish-fulfilling tree. On its central branch, in the branches extending to each of the four directions, are four-tiered lion thrones with lotus, sun, and moon seats. The fifth in the center is higher, and those in the four directions are slightly lower. Atop the meditation seat in the center is my root lama, Vajradhara, surrounded by the lamas of the lineage. On the throne to the front is glorious Chakra Samvara, surrounded by an assembly of Yidam deities. To the right is the mighty able one, the Shakya king, surrounded by the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate kalpa. Behind is the authentic Dharma as volumes of scripture. To the left is the Bodhisattva of skillful means, Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of wisdom, Manjushri, the mighty and powerful Lord of the hidden, Chitti Garbha, and all the other 8 closed bodhisattvas, along with a gathering of the Bodhisattva Sangha. Surrounding down below is Mahakala with all the Dharmapalas and protectors, clearly appearing gathered like piling clouds.
Okay, so we skipped, we already did the 7 pairs.
Mm-hmm. So then to page 20. Enlightened forms, in whom all exalted Buddhas are subsumed, Vajradhara in essence, root of the 3 jewels, to all the spiritual teachers I prostrate and offer praise. From within the unborn state, out of great compassion, atop a lotus and sun seat with Jigche and Dutsema, emanates the enlightened form of the great wrathful one, Mar subduing whom. To the transcendent conqueror of supreme bliss, I prostrate and offer praise. With impartial, loving compassion, from the pure palace of the Dharmakaya, the illusory Rupakaya manifests. To the Mother Varahi, I prostrate and offer praise. The completely pure 4 elements, whose essence is that of the 4 wisdoms, 4 goddesses, Dakini, Lama, Kandaroha, and Rupini, whose enlightened forms emanate for the benefit of beings. To the 4 Dakinis I prostrate and offer praise. Through skillful means and compassion, you are born into the Shakya clan. Unconquerable by others, you subdued the hordes of Mara. Your resplendent form is like a golden mountain. To you, the king of Shakyas, I prostrate and offer praise. Beyond thoughts, words, or expression, transcendent perfection of wisdom, without origin and unceasing, the very essence of space, the domain of my own intrinsic primordial awareness, to the mother of all Buddhas of the 3 times, I prostrate and offer praise. Manjushri Vajrapani, Avalokiteshvara, Chitti Garbha, Sarva Nirvana Vishkabin, Akasha Garbha, Maitreya, Samantabhadra, to the 8 close bodhisattvas, I prostrate and offer praise. In the presence of the Buddha, they vowed to protect, like their own children, all practitioners engaging in spiritual practice. To the assemblies of Dharmapalas and protectors, I prostrate and offer praise. To all those worthy of praise, bowing down with as many bodies as there are atoms in the universe, at all times with supreme faith, I offer praise. Until we, So then when we recite this, typically this is what is recited over and over as we do prostrations. And just to say, like many of you who have done refuge, you've started from the second line, Drinjin Sawa Dangyu Barchepe, but actually this is, he said in here, actually, if you're starting for the first time, go ahead and do this entire thing as the recitation. Rewa? Until we reach the heart of awakening, I and all sentient beings who have been my mothers, vast as limitless space, take refuge in the sublime, glorious spiritual teachers, the kind root Lama, together with all the lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the Yidams and all the deities of their mandalas. We take refuge in the Bhagavan Buddhas. We take refuge in the sublime Dharma. We take refuge in the noble Sangha. We take refuge in all the Dakas, Dakinis, Dharma guardians, and Dharma protectors who possess the eye of wisdom. So then there's the dissolution. The objects of refuge dissolve into the main figure Vajradhara, who then melts into light and dissolves into me.
Thank you. So we have 2 prostrations, but we have no space.
And we don't want to risk shaking the mandala.
So, yeah, so thank you again. And also, do you have some questions, comments? We have
like 10 minutes. Okay, one is online, it looks like, or? Ali has a question. Up here. Okay, there's one in Spanish. Go ahead, yeah. First read the one in Spanish.
Greeting from Caracas. I would like to know how to choose a deity yidam to practice for the personal practice. We receive precious teachings and very valuable empowerments. We have access to precious texts, but which deity of deities should we adopt? Like how as essentials for our refuge, for our internal refuge and our personal practice.
Dili kasi di yedam mena dini yedam gande damgaling gogre kain sarawang ramanda mambo to nyong yang garsi di pena kyamdo chebe katla pena yedam la yang kyabdo kyabsu drogyorwa dini sosogi yedam gande yempa de du la dushi yona yabo rebe gande chego sa
re ta thanda di ngaso jamro yedam sena de lama sena mombola imba ta khandro lamna de tine sanjires.
So actually, when you're going for refuge, you don't need to, like when you're doing the refuge practice, you don't need to be thinking of like your particular yidam. All the yidams are included in that, all of the deities. So you're taking refuge in all of the yidam deities. All the lamas, all of the Buddhas, all of the yidam meditational deities.
되네 조지 숭도와 되네 다 디나 차장 창요레 조지 코라다 코랑 그 main practice jamro리도 디나 창디요레.
So actually, Joa Tisha has said that like the practice of refuge in itself is complete. All of the practices are contained within that. And so he himself said that that was his main practice.
되네 다 가서 야안로네 단다다 가서 jam로지 되네야 친한 공원로지 다 가서 안된 그세야지 요러와 대집이 깔라 되네 예담대 demcho 차디요레 되네야 나로 초롱로로위나 되네 방모 차디요레.
So now that being said, if you do the progressive stages of the path according to the fivefold path of Mahamudra, which is, what the tradition of this program, then when you get to Yidam, the Yidam deity that is practiced is traditionally Chakrasambhara. And then if you practice the 6 yogas of Naropa, then the Yidam that is practiced in that context is Vajravarahi.
So, in reference to picking up the practice as like the phone as easily, right? I really like that because when I was doing the prostrations before, a lot of times I would just be like, oh, I'm just gonna do like 10. Like better than doing none, right? Today, and so if maybe we don't have the time to do the entire beginning, what is like an abbreviated way that might be easy? Is there an appropriate way where you just, because there was a while where I would just do the opening prayers and then just do some prostrations and then dedicate. And this like, is that like if we wanted to do it every day while we're in this section?
What's the most concise way to do it?
Yeah, and then we could have more like longer retreat days also.
Yeah, that's a good question. So there came the longer sessions at the Nayuna, Digirwa. In a Torala Banajita, Tenidochina, Katochace, Jamrodon and Digres.
So yeah, as you mentioned, like when you have time, it's really good to do like the full practice with the whole sadhana. But if you're pressed for time and you want to keep your practice going every day, it's okay to do like you mentioned, that you're doing the opening prayers and then you're just going right into prostrations with the visualization there. That's also okay.
Straight, refuge prayer and prostration.
So just doing the refuge prayer together with the prostrations.
Very good. No questions? Okay, so I think you guys already got it, so that's good. So now, dedication?
So we can do the dedication prayers?
One question,
one
okay.
Wait for the mic so that people on Zoom can hear your question.
When would the refuge retreat be?
Oh, did we have, Donna, go ahead. Do we have a date for that?
We do not have a date yet.
Yeah.
Okay, we soon.
But what I wanted to share is the Mani Drupon starts, of course, on Tuesday, so there'll be no teaching on refuge next Sunday, or the following Sunday, because Rinpoche will be going to Charlottesville to do another empowerment. So refuge teachings will resume on October 12th. Thank you. And the Mani Drupon starts at 8 a.m. with breakfast on Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, so this money to change, so that's a really good, opportunity. So there is no limit. You can, couple hours or one session, that's okay. Or if you want to stay 24 hours, that's okay too.
Yeah, so essentially, please stop in at any time as your schedule allows. If you can't, if you have for however long, because we're going to keep the practice going for 24 hours a day. So literally you can drop in at any time of the day or night and join in the practice for however long as you can. So we're really happy to have your presence as much as you can make it. And same for the people online who are participating online. You can also pop on and off of the Zoom as your schedule allows. It will be open for the full duration of the retreat. We may have screen sharing during the recitation, but it's advised that you have, if you have your materials that you received through email, to have those ready to follow along if you're participating online. And we definitely won't have screen sharing during the night sessions. And also the people who are participating online will not be assigned to night sessions. So you can just choose which night session you wish to join, those of you who are joining online. And then for those who signed up for night sessions, we'll have the night session groups and posted, and also will be announced at the start of the Drupon.
Thank you.
Okay. Page 24 in the prayer book.
Bottom of the page.
By the virtues collected in the three times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Drupon Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. And then to page 19. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn may it arise, where it is born may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. Jamju Senjo Rinpoche Make
Thank you. So there you guys, if you look at the sand mandala, that's okay, but don't go closer, okay?
Yeah, be careful.
If you mix up,
Please
then
be
it takes
careful.
long time.
What were you thinking?